So my name is Alfonso Mangubat. I'm from Key School, Manila. I'm an Apple Distinguished Educator. So I will be sharing with you today app smashing, rethinking classroom works and projects. So today's session objectives, we'll be looking at what app smashing is all about. For many of you, it might sound familiar already. So we're going to have a short review of what smashing is all about. We'll explore applications that can help us smash apps and create the amazing works and projects that would help lead our students to show their creativity, their understanding, and even themselves when they present in front of you or in front of their classmates as well. This was evident in the video that you saw. That video is also one of my favorite videos, and it always gets me to think about how can I make my classroom that creative, or how can I help my students be as creative as those students without me having to tell them what app to use or which gadgets they have to make use of. Then last, we'll also do some projects or work using different applications. So later in my talk, you'll see there are different stations there. There are white laminated pieces of paper in some of the corners of the classroom. So we have iPads here. You can get those iPads, but don't bring it home, of course. And then you can do the activities in those stations as well. Okay. So to start off, app smashing. App smashing is basically the process of creating different products and projects using 2 or more applications. Probably done some app smashing along the way, or for other teachers, you might also want to know, like, what apps can I use? How can I expand the repertoire that I already have and use that inside my own classroom? Do note that all of the apps that I'll be presenting, they're not just limited to the Apple ecosystem, but they're also available online, in your Android phones, or in your Windows computers as well. Okay? So when we think about app smashing, there are 3 things that always come to my mind. First is the process, followed by the reflection, and finally, the product. But there's just one part in those 3 words that I really want to focus on when we think about app smashing, and that is the process. Because when we think about the process will show you our students collaborating with one another. We will also see students planning different activities, and you'll see how their understanding develops from the start all the way up to the end. So in this session, we're not just going to look at the apps that we're going to use inside the classroom, but we're also going to look at the process our students go through when they create their projects. Because we know that when we give our projects, or when our students submit their projects, we only see the end point, the product itself. But with app smashing and with the tools that would help document their learning, you would see collaboration, planning, and the development of their understanding. And it is in this session that I'd like to focus on the process, because it is in the process where we will find meaningful and relevant data. We'll be able to see the development of their skills. We'll be able to see what kind of a student that student actually is. And of course, the one question that always pops up in their heads when our students pass their projects: did somebody else make it for them? Of course, their parents will always be hovering around and saying, oh, you should do this and that. So it's here that in the app smashing process, wherein we'll be able to see if our student was able to work on it or not. So moving forward, it is because of this process that we start using different applications that will help show our students understanding, that will help them collaborate with one another, and would also help develop their skills: critical thinking, research skills, collaboration, thinking, and etc. So when we think about it, here are some things that I like to think about when app smashing. First, it's the process. we always have to ask our students, what do you need? Who can help you? How will I show, or how will I be able to help, or how will I be able to tap on the people around me, the community, the resources? And of course, what apps will help me along the way? Those teachers, we already have our bank of applications to help us. It's always important to get the students to do their own thing. Because if we direct them, or if we guide, if we're the ones who box them in, then their creativity will suffer. And that's something that we don't want to happen. When we get our students to start reflecting on their learning, that's the time when they can start thinking, how can I show them learning best? How can I incorporate feedback, not just from the teacher, but also from their peers as well, which is valuable in the whole learning process. Because now that we're focused on a student-centered environment, we may be the experts or the content leaders, but of course our students have to be guided, and they also have to learn from one another so that they can also explore the world they are working in. They show their understanding. And lastly, the product. Was my understanding presented logically or coherently? Did I meet all the parameters? With all of this in mind, though we may give our students the creativity to do all of these things, it's always important to go back to the standards or the objectives that we are working in. Remember that when we app smash, it's not just about the wow factor. It's not just about making things beautiful for people for visitors to see, but it's also about showing their understanding. Did that student who never talks in your class, was he able to show his understanding creatively, and was it able to show that he was able to work with other people? Okay. So we now come to the part wherein we look at different tools that will help us smash. Oh my, I did not foresee this. So here we have different tools. We have Adobe Illustrator, so it allows students to draw. We have Adobe Photoshop Mix, which would help our students come up with collage pictures, do minor edits as well. There's one app that I especially like the most, which is Book Creator. Few years ago, Pages on the iMac and also on the iPad was unable to publish work, but now it can also publish work. So with Book Creator, you can start getting your students to publish their own work and help in creating a learning resource center just for your own schools. Because I believe that in this day and age, our students should not just be consumers of knowledge, but also producers of it. Then we come to some of my favorite apps, Edpuzzle, always my favorite app, especially for assessments, when you use YouTube videos so that instead of your students watching it mindlessly, they can, the video would stop at certain points and there would be questions from you where you can check on their understanding. Flipgrid is also another favorite. Video reflections are always powerful, especially for those students who don't really talk inside the class or who are shy. With Flipgrid, you can use this as an assessment ticket, an exit ticket, and also a form of student portfolio as well. You'd have Kahoot, your quizzes, Nearpod, and Padlet. Padlet is your electronic bulletin board so that you can post reflections, thoughts, and ideas. And sometimes I like using it because of the anonymity it provides for my students, especially if you have students who are shy and don't want to be judged by their classmates. You can use this. I would always tell them, if you don't want to be known, just don't write your names. But of course, with Flipgrid, their faces will be seen, so it gets students to like, react, and share also. So these are just some of the apps that I've used from time to time inside my classroom. I've used Flipgrid, Padlet, Kahoot sometimes, but the Flipgrid and Padlet are my two favorites. And of course, we have different Apple apps as well. With the recent update in the Apple iWork suite, we now have Pages wherein you can create multimedia books. I've used Pages a lot of times and I've uploaded these books onto Apple Books for my students to use. I've also used it so that my students can access it on iTunes U. I love Apple Clips. If you'll go onto my YouTube channel, you'll see a lot of Apple Clip made videos of different ways of using Apple Clips as well. Keynote and GarageBand. So those are just some of the applications that we can use. And here is how we can use those applications in different subject areas. So you have literacy, science, and mathematics. So take a while to look at it. So from the start, you'll have students creating a short story in Google Docs. The beauty with Google Docs is you can see who's collaborating or not. You can see if there's a student who's just who's just uploading memes on their research paper and then using it as a chat box. And you can use Google Docs to provide feedback as well. Once they're done with that, you can create a book trailer to help you out. And then you can use GarageBand to narrate the story. So with this, in the first column, you'll already see from the start that our students, the activities itself cater to different forms of learners. You have the writers, you have the visual people, you have those who love to speak. So from the get-go, with App Smashing, you're already catering to the different styles of learners and also differentiating along the way. But of course, it's always important to let your students know that you can try different applications along the way. So these are some of the ideas. And now, I'd like to stop first and tell you guys, it's now your turn to try it out. I only wanted to talk for a short bit because I wanted to see how you guys can use different applications in this setting. So if you'll see on the different corners, you have one corner over there is dedicated to math, another corner is for science, that one is for social studies, and I believe this one is literacy. There are instructions there on what you can do and what suggested apps you can use. And then if you want a challenge, I have another station here for a challenge which uses augmented reality, or it shows examples of augmented reality. So you can look at that video, watch it, and see what ideas you can use it for in your own classroom. This guy, the video, Mr. Paul Hamilton, another Apple Distinguished Educator, he loves using AR Maker. I believe he created like this AR bookshelf wherein when you look at the bookshelf, it's just floating there, and then you tap on the book, a book review comes out, and then the students can interact with it already. So it's quite beautiful. You can check this out. I believe the video is all about water cycles, so something you might want to look into. Now, before that also, another valuable resource that has helped me along the way when it comes to app smashing are Apple's Everyone Can Create books. So with Apple's Everyone Can Create, you'll have wonderful resources at your fingertips. So here, I especially like the drawing book because in the drawing book, it will teach you how to create your own infographics just by using Pages and Keynote as well. You can also use, if your students have a stylus or an Apple Pencil, they can use that as well. So this is just one of those many ideas that they can use inside the classroom. Another one is for photos. Photos, of course, we love telling stories. In this day and age where students are on Instagram most of the time, they love curating their feed. So with photos, they'll learn how to create different materials and resources as well. Okay, so this one, create a personified picture. So the person just took a picture, then using their stylus or their Apple Pencil, they drew this guy right here. So you can see that he's not too happy being hit by the golf club. Or this is another sample, just a simple picture. And also this one. Okay. So if you want to explore different applications or just use the ones that you have to get ideas, not just limited to Apple, the Everyone Can Create books are a wonderful resource for that. Okay? So now it's your turn. So I want everyone to stand up, check out the different stations, and try to create the tasks using different apps. There will be no limitations. I have recommendations, but there are no limitations. Just want everyone to be creative. If you need help, just call me out. I'll go to you to help you guys out. And of course, be ready to share your work. Check out the screen here. I have the app called AR Maker. So with AR Maker, you can create different AR images. And right now, I'll just put this baby dinosaur here, and I'll place it there. You can also move around to get a bigger space also. So let's reset it. Okay, so here we have. There we go. The app itself already comes with pre-built images also. You can also create your own using different images. So when I place it, so if I walk around, of course these are just flat objects, but you will see it on the other side as well. So there. So wonderful way to get your students to immerse with their characters, especially if this is if you have like literacy subjects, reading and writing. You can have your students draw their own characters and then save it onto photos and then just upload it onto AR Maker. So let's have a quick share now of some of your work. Brave souls. Brave four souls.
Is it okay to show?
Yeah, sure.
No need to talk.
Yeah, no need to talk, no need to share. Just present it so that. There you go. From the start again. So here.
Sorry.
Okay, so here we have Sir who created his life cycle of a butterfly using the different images. Sir, would you like to share anything?
So, good morning everyone, good morning teachers. So, I'm Charles from Philippine Normal University. Actually, I'm incoming fourth year student and taking up Bachelor in Science Education with specialization in physics and both a famous scholar and PhD scholar. So here, I just picked this ad that station kasi syempre yun yung align sa course ko and hindi na ako nag-frog kasi mas madali yung sa butterfly kasi yung pag-stays lang. So, maximizing the given amount of time given by sir. So, ayun po yun. Copy lang ng images, then ano lang, palit-palit lang ng mga text and tapos arrows from the icons there. So, yun po. So, sa baba lang po, I just add there a brief description about butterfly para at least yun na yung magsasama.
I'm Damien from Xavier School, Valley, and I have actually been using this app. It's called Adobe Draw. Ever since because I like to draw talaga, so I do digital art. So this is just a very quick sketch of a life cycle of a honeybee. I was supposed to animate in Keynote kasi to get into it like yung kagaya sa crazy na nag-move it or but I didn't have the chance to do it today because of the limited amount of time. But I want to just say something about this app. It's very easy to use because it's like Photoshop, but it's more it's more user friendly because you're just going to just add layers and then choose from the brushes here, and then you can just draw even without the Apple pen. You can actually use it. It's a very good app.
Okay, so somebody use clips. So we end the session, but before I do end the session, there's just one more thing that I'd like to share.
Hey, what you doing on your computer?
What's a computer?
It's something for us to think about, especially in this day and age when our students have their devices, whether it be an iPad, Microsoft Surface, or even an Android tablet. Their creativity will pop up. There will be different applications that will come out every month that will help our students really express themselves. And as teachers, when we app smash, we may have our apps already in mind. We already have that bank that we'll always go to. But as teachers, we must let our students express themselves freely. If you'll notice from all of the videos, the teacher never told them, this is what you should use. It's always the students who will do it who will find different ways. And we should let that happen, and we should let that flourish. Because all of our students now, they are very creative, expressive in their own different ways and in their own different ways.